All right, so we're outside today. It's kind of a rainy day. I was trying to think about what we should do for Makerspace, and then it hit me. We should make a rain gauge. And in case you don't know, a rain gauge is a tool you use to measure the amount that it has rained in a 24-hour period. And why would you do this, you ask? Well, for one thing, it's really fun. And for another, as we know in Makerspace, knowledge is power. And so any way we can, as scientists, gather more good information, it shows us more about the world, it helps us solve problems. Getting in the habit of gathering, collecting good data, good information is an amazing habit to form and will help you out a lot when you get older in life. And it's really fun right now. All right, so let's dive in and talk about our supplies. All you're gonna need is a little plastic bottle. You can use like a big one from like a soda, like a big liter container, or a small one, or even just like a regular water bottle. You're gonna need a Sharpie, a little measuring apparatus. I couldn't find my ruler, so I'm using a tape measure, or a measuring tape from my sewing box, whatever. Some tape, scissors. So, let's do this. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is just cut off the top. And since this is like a long bottle, I'm just gonna cut it off like right here, right below where it says Best Buy. And this is part you might wanna have help from your parents with, because cutting through plastic can be a little bit dangerous. But if you're careful, I'm sure you guys can do it. I have definitely injured myself through cutting plastic. When I was a little kid, I went through a phase where I was really into melting things. And I remember one time I was cutting up a plastic bottle to try to melt it over the fire, which is a terrible idea because it releases toxins into the air that are very bad for you to breathe in and for the earth. But yeah, so I was cutting it up to melt it better, I guess, and I ended up stabbing my finger with a pair of scissors. So be careful, friends. All right, so once we did that, what we're gonna do in a minute is tape this in, but for now, I'm gonna leave it out while we make our measurements. All right, I had to stop filming for a second because I forgot a very important piece of supplies. And so the final piece of supplies you need is a pile of small rocks or gravel, and I'll explain why in a second. So, if you remember where we just were, we cut off the top of this plastic bottle, and the next thing we're going to do with the rocks that I forgot about is we are going to pour them into the bottom of this. And I'm going to pour the rocks in until they come up to this little line probably. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to make it we're going to put the rocks in and then make our marks and then fill it up with water to the top of the rocks. And that makes it so you have a very clear bottom start to your rain gauge, if that makes sense. All right, that's good. All right, so I have my rocks in, and now we're going to make a little mark, and that is going to be the starting point for our rain gauge. Luckily there's a little line on this plastic bottle, so that makes it helpful. And that's where, after we're done, we're going to fill up the water to here before we leave it out for the 24-hour period. So, once you have where you've decided the bottom of the rain gauge is going to be, you want to take out your measuring apparatus and decide on a way to measure. You can do it in centimeters if you want, or inches. I'm going to do it in inches because I randomly chose that. All right, so you want the bottom of whatever you're using to measure to be at the line that you made, and then we're just going to check off, just put little dots where all of our inches are. So I'm going to go all the way up to 5. You know, I've actually had an idea. I think maybe if I taped this on, it'll be a little bit easier to make my little check marks. Look, honey, it's a caterpillar. I think it's dead. set. All right, so I'm taping this on to the bottom where my mark is. Cool, yes, that is very helpful. And then we're gonna take our permanent marker and make little marks. For me, it's gonna be all the way up to 5. You can choose how far you want it to go up to. Pull that bad boy off and make little marks so it's very clear. This is gonna help you with measuring later once you put it out. And then write your numbers next to the ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. All right, and now we are just going to tape this back in this way, and that makes sure that the water can very effectively just come right in, and so it'll help us measure later on. All right. And also it's doubly helpful because this plastic can be kind of sharp if you just touch it, so it'll help us stay a little safe. All right, so after you guys make this, I encourage you to check on the weather forecast, and when you see it called for rain, fill up the bottom of your rain gauge with water, and then leave it out for 24 hours, then bring it inside and write down your findings. And if you want to collect a lot of data, that will be really, really helpful. And it, like I said, helps you form good habits. All right, there you go. Science. I hope you guys try this. I had a lot of fun, and I'm gonna put it out, but maybe not today because it looks like it's cleared up a lot. All right, check back in tomorrow for more makerspace ideas.